Kayo, this is Roy from New York Tea Society, and I'm back with another episode of Yi Tian Yi Cha. One day, one tea. The tea for today is going to be Ya Shi Dancong. That is duck shit Dancong Oolong. Contrary to the name, duck shit is actually a very fragrant floral tea, so we don't have to worry about that. Don't fear trying it. It's actually a very good tea, and we're going to go into the story about how it got its name and what it actually is, okay? So before we go into what Ya Shi is, let's talk about the bigger category of Dancong. And let's start brewing first. To brew this tea, I'm going to use a Gaiwan, and you're going to use boiling water. This is a 110 ml Gaiwan, and I will be using 8 grams of tea, which is a little more than I normally use, but this tea requires it. If you've had Dancong before and you didn't like it because you thought it was too bitter, that's because it wasn't brewed properly. This tea is going to have a touch of bitterness, but more than anything, it's going to be very floral. It's going to taste like it was infused with some kind of flower or a fruit of some kind, but it hasn't. It is just like all of our teas that we do. They are not infused with anything. It's the pure Camellia sinensis, and it is one of the most incredible teas. It's one of the first oolongs that were created. You can tell it is a, let me see, hold on one second. Let me get a white background. Here we go. And I'll pick up another little leaf. I lost my first one. And they're long strips. And these long strips are how oolong actually got their name, as opposed to the other oolongs categories, which got their name through color. Here's a good one to show you. So it's a long strip which has been oxidized to a certain point, usually around 60%, 70%, and it's also roasted. Dancong's only roasted lightly, but they at different degrees of roast. But between Dancong and Yancha, those are the 2 oolongs that were first created in China. And that's where the name oolong comes from. So you have white tea, which is white tea, red tea, green tea, yellow tea, right? They were all named after the color of the brew. But oolong actually translates to dark dragon, which if you use your imagination very well, this will look like a dark dragon to you. Right? Okay. So one of the first oolongs created between this and Yancha, the history of Dancong goes back into the late Tang or the early Song dynasties. Let me stop brewing and then we'll come back to that story. Otherwise, because I really want to drink some of this tea. Okay, so first we're going to warm up our vessel. Let's make sure we have our Gaiwan ready. Okay. And we will put a full fill on that. And once the Gaiwan is warm, you can go ahead and just get rid of that water. And then you'll put your leaves into the Gaiwan, give it a small shake side to side, and go ahead and smell that. It is you will take a double take to see if there's any flower petals in there, but there aren't. Trust me, there's no flower petals in there. This tea will go from being one of the best teas that you've ever had to being a sad, bitter mess in a split second. So you want to go under 5 seconds on your first brew for sure, and probably your first 2 or 3 brews, you're going under 5 seconds. So once I actually get the water on, by the time I come back and take this off, I'm going to tell you what that is in a minute. We just go ahead and brew. There's no hold time. You're going to go ahead and, there we go. I'll serve some of that to myself. Why don't we give Monkey a little bit, because this is one of his favorite teas as well. Let's put it to the side for a minute. Okay. And now I can go ahead and tell you the story about the Song dynasty. And while I have this here, let me talk about that too. So I scraped that off of the top, right? There was these bubbles that come on the top when you're brewing. It's actually saponin, which is a chemical, which is also found in soap, and it is what gives tea its body. So it's good to see it. When you see it, you know your tea is going to have a nice thick body in it. But you want to just take it off because it's also going to be bitter in the taste, right? So I just scrape it off and put it to the side, and then you can always come back with your napkin and just wipe that off and clean your table up. Let me just go ahead and taste this, and then we'll go into the story about the Song Dynasty Emperor. Yeah, this is so special. Trust me, if you've never had this, you're gonna love it. If you brew it in that method, if you brew it for just under 5 seconds, you're gonna love this. Okay, so we know that they've been making these teas going back to the Song Dynasty, or probably earlier into the late Tang Dynasty, because there is a story that's told about the last emperor of the Song Dynasty, and when the Mongols were invading and they were running away to the south, and the last emperor was a young boy, and he was going through the Phoenix Mountains, which is where this tea comes from. It comes from the Phoenix Mountains, which are located in Guangdong province. So the emperor was running away. He goes through the Phoenix Mountains, and there he starts feeling a little bit weak. And they want to nourish him up, so he gets served some of this tea. And the tea becomes quite famous in that time because it brought that late emperor back to life. Well, not back to life, he wasn't dying, but it revived him. So that cultivar is known as Zhong cultivar, which means the Song from the Song Dynasty, and Zhong means kind. So it's the Song Dynasty kind, right? And you can still get that, which is actually a very special cultivar, and it's one of my favorites. I do carry that one too, but I had the Ya Shi here, and it's also a very good cultivar. I'm talking about different cultivars of Dancong, right? So now we're going to get into what Ya Shi is in a minute, but first you have to understand that Dancong itself means single bush or single trunk. So in the earlier days, when the farmers identified a bush which had a very unique flavor, and some of these Dancongs will taste strictly like peach or lychee or almonds or honey. It's a very famous one, right? So they all have very distinct flavors or aromas, and they would isolate them, and they would propagate them. They would start cloning these bushes so that they can get an entire cultivar of this bush, right? So what you end up having when you drink a Dancong is, even though they're all Dancongs, depending on the cultivar, you'll have a very unique taste to it. So you're gonna end up having preferences. Like I prefer the Songjong, right? I love a Songjong. It has a very high floral note in it. Some people prefer the Milanxiang. Milanxiang is the honey orchid aroma. There are many others. There's like I said, there's the ginger aroma, it's called pomelo aroma. There's hundreds of different Dancongs, and each one comes with its very unique aroma and taste. So how does Ya Shi get its name? Why would they call a tea duck shit that smells so good and tastes so good? The name comes because, as we were mentioning before, the farmers, when they find a unique taste of flavor in a bush, in a plant, after they process it, they isolate it and they make a cultivar just of that bush. So this particular farmer found this unique taste in Ya Shi, which is very floral, overwhelmingly so, and he knew that he had a hit here, right? So he went ahead and he cultivated this whole plot. Now, the other farmers, when they saw that there was a new plot, figured that he found a new cultivar. And they went in and asked him, what do you have over there in that plot over there? He said, I thought I found a new cultivar, but the ducks came and they shit all over it. You can look at the dirt. It's no good. It's spoiled. I'll have to try again. And that gave him the opportunity to at least go a little bit longer selling his duck shit without the other farmers coming along in the middle of the night and clipping his bushes to also propagate the same tea, right? So the name actually, instead of doing the opposite of turning people off to it, I think contributes to its popularity. Until next time, I am going to sign off now. If you like watching these videos and learning a little bit about each tea, then please go ahead and subscribe. If you want to try the tea for yourself, please go ahead and go up on the website, and we have the NYTS tea market, and you can order the teas there. Until tomorrow,